What I'd like to do today is to take us on a journey to visit the Chamber of Contracts, which is the place where we can come to renegotiate the ancient contracts that we have made with ourselves and with spirit, and to come up with a new agreement that can be more workable given the extraordinary times that we're living in today. So in the shaman's art of journeying, we learn to visit the lower world, the inner world, where we have kept and stored those parts of ourselves that have gone into hiding because of trauma. And not only because of our personal trauma, but due to the trauma that we have inherited from our culture and our society. These have been passed down from one generation to the next for thousands of years, including that original trauma of being cast out of the Garden of Eden. So what I'd like to invite us to do is to journey through the world tree down into the depths of the soul, into the realms of the unconscious, and to come into our inner garden, to that paradise that we were cast out from, that has now become internalized, that only exists now inside each one of us. And there, I'm going to guide us to go to the meadow, and beyond the meadow to a mountain that has a flat rock wall facing us. And in the rock there will be an opening. And in that opening we're going to go and be ritually dismembered, be stripped away from anything that does not belong to us, that is not part of our innermost and authentic and essential self. And the parts that don't belong to us are most everything that we identify with our roles, with our gender, with our sex, with our skin color, with our nationality, with our job, with our family, and even with our names. So when we are stripped away to that essential self, we're going to ask the guide that in the Andean traditions is known as Huascar, who's the Lord of life and the Lord of death. And she is the keeper of the realms of the soul. And we're going to ask him to guide us into a chamber in the very back of this cave where we can discover the contracts that we entered into with spirit and with ourselves. And many of these contracts we entered into even before we were born. Some of them are beautiful contracts that we need to be reminded of, and some of them are terrible contracts that we entered into at a very high price, at a very high cost. And remember, a contract is an agreement that you make where you will perform certain duties in exchange for certain benefits. For example, if you have a contract to rent an apartment, you want to pay a certain amount of rent, a fair amount, for a nice apartment. But if you end up paying 10,000 euros or dollars a month for an apartment that has a view of the garbage dump, it's not a good deal. It's not a good contract. And many of us have ended up paying very dearly, paying at a very high cost in terms of our creativity, of our authenticity, of our coming into our abilities as shamans and as healers in order to remain safe. And these are frequently contracts that we entered into when we were very young, or maybe even in a former lifetime. And this is a good time for us to renegotiate these contracts, to come up with better contracts, better agreements with spirit, at a time that humanity as a whole is coming up with a better agreement with our own destiny and with the earth. An agreement where we will no longer be predators, where we can live sustainably, where we can have access to good health and good quality air and clean water and peace and the basic fundamental rights that every human being has. How do we do this at a personal level? We know that we need to stop burning fossil fuels, that we need to stop polluting the earth, that we need to come up with a new human agreement. How do we do this individually and personally? And how do we come up with a new agreement with spirit that will lead us to our enlightenment and to our illumination, for us to become fully endowed with the qualities of the new human that is emerging in the planet right now, with that future human that I believe is us, is you and I. So let's begin with a breathing practice to get us into that healing state, that deeply relaxed state where our breath can go down to about 3 to 4 breaths a minute instead of 12 to 15 breaths a minute. And I'd like you to take a deep breath and exhale. And another deep breath and exhale again. And I'm going to ask you to inhale to a count of 4, hold to a count of 4, exhale to 4, and hold empty to 4. Inhaling deeply one more time, and exhaling, and inhaling to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 4. 3, 4. Empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. Inhale to 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold to 4. Exhale to 4. Empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. Inhale to 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. Inhale to 4. Hold to 4. Exhale to 4. Empty to 4. 3, 4. Inhale to 4. Hold to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 4. 2, 3, 4. Empty to 4. 3, 4. Inhale to 4. 2, 3, 4. And hold 4. 3, 4. Exhale to 4. Empty to 4. Inhale to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to 4. Empty to 4. Inhale 4, 3, 4, and exhale softly and gently. And I'd like you to imagine yourselves in a meadow, beautiful green meadow, and at a distance you see a tree. And the tree calls to you, and you realize that it is the world tree that is summoning you. And you begin to make your way towards this great tree, feeling the cool grass beneath your feet, walking softly. And when you draw near the tree, you see the branches stretching up into the heavens, and you feel the roots, the vibration of the roots as they extend down deep into the earth, and the big wide trunk inviting you to step into it, to step into the world tree. And since you're in your luminous form, you can go right into the trunk of the tree and experience inside the trunk the streams of water flowing down, flowing up from the roots up towards the leaves, and the rivers of sunlight coming down from the leaves through the branches and down towards the roots. And allow the waters to cleanse you and the sunlight to lighten you, and allow yourself to go, to follow the waters down into the taproot of that tree, that great big taproot that is the deepest root of the tree, following it down past the rich moist earth and past the giant boulders until it leads you to an underground river or stream. And then to step into that river, step into that stream, and lie down and allow the waters to cleanse you, to wash away any energies that you may not bring with you into the realms of the soul. Feeling the pebbles on your back, resting deeply in these cleansing waters. And when you're ready, allow the waters to carry you, to take you down deep into the belly of the earth, into the belly of the mother, and to wash you onto the shores of a secret garden. And stand up and look around you, and there is a light. And off to one direction you see the forest and the flowers and a river, and to another direction you see a valley and a meadow with cool grass, beautiful green grass growing, and in the distance there's a mountain with a stone face. And you begin to make your way towards that mountain, walking on the soft, cool grass. And when you draw near, you notice that there's an opening to a cave. There's an entrance to a great cavern. This is the cavern where you will be dismembered. And you call on the guide. The guide is known as Huascar, the Lord of Life and the Lord of Death. And you call on her, you ask her to guide you and to take you into the cave, and do not be afraid. It's okay. Go past where the light ends, and there you will find an altar. And on this altar is where you will be ritually stripped away from everything that is not part of your essential self. Your job, your responsibilities, your emails, your to-do lists, your obligations, your identity, your memories, your childhood, and perhaps even your name. And when you're stripped down to your essential self, who you have always been since the beginning of time, you're invited to go back into the cave and ask the guide to lead you back into this chamber of contracts. This chamber of contracts where you will see a table and perhaps somebody sitting at the table, you writing away a contract. Or if there's no one there, maybe there's a book open on the table that shows you the agreements. These are the Akashic records, the great ancient records that are kept from the very beginning of time. For some of us, it may be a very ancient contract that we entered into. Maybe when we were born, maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe when we lost everyone we love, when we lived in a village in the desert. And I want you to find what that contract is. And if you don't see anything, look in the back. In the back, there's a library full of books. And as you walk through the shelves, you'll find a book that has your name written on the spine. And I would like you to take that book and bring it with you to the table and sit down and begin to turn the pages until you find that contract that you entered into with life. Perhaps that contract that you entered into right before you were born, or maybe after a terrible experience when you were young. Maybe after a trauma that occurred where you said, I will never ever do this again, or please help me, God, don't let this happen to me again. And find the contract that you entered into, the agreement that you made with Spirit, what you would exchange for safety, what you would give up, what you would deny yourself in order to be safe. And look through it. And as you read through this contract, decide if you want to keep it. Is it still a good contract? Are you getting from life the price that you're paying for in terms of creativity or joy or peace, or not wanting to rock the boat or to scare anyone? Are you willing to continue paying that price? Or do you want to change it? Is it a contract that is beautiful, that you needed to be reminded of what you came to really do in this life? If it's a good contract, take it to your heart and hold it close to you so you may remember it. If it's not such a good contract, I'd like you to tear it up, rip it up, and write a new one. Take a pen and a piece of paper that's there and write the new agreement that you would like to enter into with Spirit. One where you do not have to pay the price of your health, of your happiness, of your creativity, of your joy, of your peace. Find out what the terms of that agreement are and write them down. And you can use words like, I vow, I promise to. And I invite life to support me in this way. What is it that you would like to offer life? And what is it that you would like to have life and the universe offer back to you? Take this opportunity to negotiate an extraordinary contract with Spirit. And if you feel courageous and daring enough, go back and renegotiate that original contract that our great-great-grandfather and grandmother entered into with God, where we were kicked out of the Garden of Paradise of Eden, never to return until the end of time. Had we negotiated a better contract, maybe we would have said to God, well, how about I spend 6 months of the year outside the garden and I come back every 6 months or every 3 months? Or maybe now I can go back to the garden and turn my life truly into a garden, into a paradise where the rivers are clean and the air is pure and people live in peace with each other. If you want to, you can renegotiate that original contract that put us into bondage. We were mortgaged a very long time ago in a very poorly written contract that was entered into by our original forefathers, Adam and Eve in the Bible. We do not have to live up to that contract anymore. We can make our way back to the garden. But if you're not ready to take that big contract on right now, know that you can come back here at any time and ask the guide, Huascar, to guide you to that place, to bring you to this chamber, which is the Akashic chamber. It's a sacred chamber where you have free will to enter into any kind of agreement that you would like to with life. This is the great wisdom of the ancient shamans, that whatever agreement you entered into with life, in the Andes is called the great Aini, the great agreement with the cosmos, that the cosmos will live up to, as long as you live up to your part. So take your time and come up with the agreement, the contract, the sacred agreement that you want to enter into with Spirit. And when you have that, bring it into your heart center. That this become the guiding principle, the guiding contract in your life that can bring you to your highest destiny and highest possibility. And know that all of us have to periodically revisit and rewrite these contracts. That these contracts were never meant to turn into a death sentence or into a prison or a contract about suffering. That you can come back and rewrite, update these contracts as you grow and mature and acquire greater wisdom. And now let's prepare to make our way back and thank the guide. Ask him to take you back to that altar where you were dismembered, and allow yourself to be remembered again, to be remembered with this new contract in place. That this become your new operant contract with life and with Spirit. And as you're being remembered, feel yourself coming back into this life, into this world, this identity that you have, and knowing that none of these things define you, that they only give you a certain kind of permission and ability to relate with the world that you live in, but that they're not who you truly are in essence. And begin to make your way out of this cavern, back onto the meadow. And when you turn back, you look at the mountain and you see that the rock face has closed and sealed the entrance to this cavern. And you make your way back over the meadow, feeling the soft, cool grass beneath your feet, and come back to the beach where you entered. And I'd like you to dive back into the waters and allow the waters to take you back to where you rested, right underneath the entrance to the taproot of that world tree. And feel the waters washing away any energies that you may not bring with you into our world, into the middle world. Knowing that in your heart you have this new agreement that you have made with Spirit. And that this new agreement, this part of this collective agreement that humanity is making again with itself and with life, that we may become the stewards and caretakers of the earth, that we may become the stewards and the caretakers of all living beings on this planet, and not only of ourselves. That this is part of the new agreement that humanity is forging with its own destiny, and that you have taken that step first. And as you complete that vow, I'd like you to enter back into the tip of the taproot and allow the taproot, with the currents of water that it brings up to feed the world tree, to bring you back up towards the trunk, past the giant boulders and past the rich moist earth and into our middle world, and feeling the streams of liquid sunshine that are coming from the leaves and flowing through you and cleansing you and empowering you and healing you. And when you're ready, I'd like you to step out of the trunk and back onto the meadow and take a few steps and turn around and bow to this great tree, to the world tree that has given us access to these ancient realms of the soul, of the unconscious. And now begin to make your way back across the meadow, back towards your room and to your body and into who you are today, and stepping fully back into yourself, taking a deep breath and exhaling. And another deep breath and placing your hands over your heart center. and feeling that new agreement, sensing that new sacred contract that you have entered into with life. No longer that contract that was drafted for us by society or our families or our parents or even by who we were 1,000 years ago. And that this new contract will begin informing everyone and everything around you, and that life will begin to mirror back to you the conditions of that contract immediately. Because this is the way that the universe operates. The minute you shift your sacred agreement, the universe reacts and molds itself very rapidly to comply to the terms of the sacred agreement that you entered into. And all you have to do is to keep your part in being you to the very highest and very fullest of your ability. This is the chamber of contracts. This is the place where we go to when we're helping someone who is deeply wounded to renegotiate a more favorable contract. And this is the place that you and I, as shamans, as men and women of wisdom, go to renegotiate our contract with life, knowing that we have the ability to do so, that we are the authors of the sacred contract, that we are not bound to the terms that were imposed upon us 1,000 years ago or even 20 years ago by trauma, by events that occurred to us that wounded us deeply and that forced us to go into negotiations and into agreements that we would ordinarily not have entered into. Welcome back to your sacred contract and to this sacred journey through life that is now infused and embedded into this agreement that you have made with the cosmos. We have all been burnt at the stake and sacrificed and had our hearts ripped open and taken away from us many times. And not only have we been the victims, we have also been the perpetrators. We've also been the sacrificers. So the idea with rewriting these contracts, particularly if we have had a very challenging past life, is to be sure we don't keep repeating the pattern, that we don't keep getting sacrificed in this life, that we don't keep having our hearts ripped out from our chest or having to lose the things or the people that we love. And when we go back and we renegotiate these contracts, we're able to break that pattern. So this is a really valuable practice when you find that you are getting stuck in the self-wounding and the self-harming and in why is this happening to me again. When you go to the Chamber of Contracts and you find that you have a blank page or a blank book, it's a great sign from the universe that you're ready, truly ready for a new contract at this time in your life. And if you don't take the opportunity to write out a new contract with spirit, then society ends up writing it for you, scripting it in the form of a job or in the form of how you should behave or in the form of, well, this is your gender and your nationality and this is what people like you do. So when you find a blank page, take it as an opportunity to come up with an original and creative new journey that will lead you to a high destiny. Journeying is the north direction medicine. And we don't do journeying earlier until we get to the north direction in the shaman's training, because before that we have still maintain our identification with our pain and with our suffering. We have not shed the past the way the serpent sheds her skin, or even step beyond fear and death like we do in the West. And then the shaman is able to journey after they have developed the ability to truly see the nature of reality, to accept reality in its most naked way and know that they can co-create with it. we journey to the Chamber of Contracts, and we have experienced journeying, so we're able to have a good communication with the guide. We allow ourselves to be dismembered, so we go as our essential selves. And when I'm asked by someone, can I guide a client or a friend or a loved one into this, through this process, I generally tell them not to do that, because they don't have the experience. They're going to be looking for a contract that's sometimes a bit of a fantasy, like I want to be happy the rest of my life, which is a nice contract, but and they're not going to allow themselves to be stripped down to their essential selves. They'll be attached to their identity or to their story or to the wounding. And this is why shamans go on behalf of their client. Or they may not have a relationship with the guide. Or they may be reluctant to truly observe the deep contract that they have made that is keeping them in suffering and in pain. So it's best for the shaman to journey for the client. Only after you have gotten to know yourself a bit better and explored your own shadow can you reliably trust what you're going to be finding for yourself. And when I have clients do it, they come back with very beautiful contracts, but they're always contracts that they don't have to do anything. That's the universe that has to do everything. It's kind of it can be kind of a mommy-daddy thing. Please, mommy, daddy, can I have? And that's not the way life works after you're 12 years old. The universe will provide you with everything. And that generally requires that you give your everything in this participatory process of creation.